All right, let's talk with the executive editor of the Common Sense Society magazine, which premieres in June, Christopher Bedford. Welcome to Victory News. Vice President Harris, she's out speaking for abortion on demand. She quoted the Declaration of Independence, but, well, something's a little different. Listen to this. I'll get your response.
A promise we made in the Declaration of Independence that we are each endowed with the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
Why do you think she left out creator and right to life from that speech?
I think it's because those are uncomfortable aspects of the Declaration of Independence, or uncomfortable rights. Kamala Harris and a lot of her political allies enjoy making up different new rights, and usually those are ones that require taking something from someone else to give to a different person. But life and liberty, well, those are ones that are, life and our creator are things that they don't necessarily defend. I mean, it's been years and years and years since the Democratic National Convention first booed God when they were coming up with the new rules for their platform. That seemed at the time to be really an outlier. You have to remember, though, that the members of the DNC, as with the RNC, are generally going to be a much more activist class. And it turns out they're broadly ahead of their time. Now, President Barack Obama was fairly similar. You could always count in his Christmas addresses whether or not he was going to even mention Jesus Christ. It was very rare that ever happened. This has been something that's been going further and further and being spoken of more boldly and more publicly than previously.
Such a good point. I had forgotten all about that. That's when they were passing the platform of the Democratic Party. They booed God. Very good point. You wrote an article in the Federalist last week stating, quote, the Republicans of the 118th Congress intend to do precisely jack to effectively rein in big tech companies and their abuses. How did you determine that?
We had some clues in the lead up. We knew that Speaker McCarthy, being a California Republican, was not exactly likely to be the champion to take on big tech. We knew that Jim Jordan, a congressman who is right on a lot of issues, but whose office and his staff in particular are very close with a lot of the big tech companies, was not the kind of person who was going to take them on either. But the issues that they decided and announced that they were going to be focused on in this Congress are censorship and investigations. Now, hitting these companies that are the most powerful companies in world history that control our information, that are the gatekeepers for who's allowed to ping you on your phone, who's allowed to send you notifications, what news you're allowed to read. Investigating them for corruption is kind of cute, and it's something that will lead to some investigation, some good talking points, a lot of Fox News interviews, et cetera, and a lot of fundraising. But in order to actually change the way these actors operate, you need to look at much more serious reforms like antitrust, and that this Congress has declared us off the table. So we'll get a lot of fireworks. We'll get a lot of true speeches about different ways that these tech companies decide winners and losers. What we will not get is any kind of serious change in how they operate.
So there'll be a lot of smoke, but nobody will break the mirror. All right, tell us about the new Common Sense magazine and the launch, what we can expect when we're reading it.
We're planning to launch this summer the Common Sense Society magazine. It's going to be about an 80-page glossy magazine, not too dissimilar in its kind of feel from some other general interest magazines you might enjoy, like Garden and Gun, but with one that also whispers to some of those important aspects of our civilization, on liberty, on beauty, on prosperity. So we'll have some great stuff on recipes, for example, different travel things between Europe and the United States, opportunities, some things on different artists and musicians and those people who are making a real impact in our culture. There will also be some articles in there on philosophy. We're going to be looking forward to publishing, for example, the last essay written by the late British philosopher Roger Scruton, which has yet been unpublished, and some interesting articles from some maybe traditionally liberal folks of the West Coast who've had a kind of an awakening as to what's going on in our society, and maybe that their side is not exactly representing the things that they used to, all interspersed with things that will be of general interest.
I can't wait. That sounds exciting. Now, Joe Biden's classified document scandal grew yet again. New findings. Biden spokesman Ian Sams told MSNBC the influence peddling, corruption discussions regarding Hunter and the president, it's too much. Here it is.
But we'll take a look at the letters that they send. We'll take a look at their actual investigative actions, and we'll respond to the Congress as appropriate. I think that it's just very clear that a lot of these things are rooted in false conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories. What's your take on all of this?
That's interesting. Well, when they say that they're not going to let the Congress really look into this, and they're not going to let the investigation go forward with Republicans involved, and they say, but hey, by the way, nothing's proven yet. Well, maybe that's because there hasn't been a thorough investigation yet conducted. The main thing that I'm interested in is the vicinity of Hunter Biden to some of these documents, and whether or not any of his dealings or emails or messages that are now public mention any of the documents that are in there. That's not going to be made public because these are top secret, but Congress will have access to get to that.
And hopefully they will. Christopher Bedford, the Common Sense Society magazine. We need you now more than ever. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.